Hello, Johnny Worthen here. Today I'm going to do a Scrivener class. Yesterday I presented a class on Scrivener, Introduction for Beginners to my League of Utah Writers chapter, and I'm not pleased with what I did there. I went over all the basic elements of it. I showed the icons and everything, but I didn't really have a flow, and I felt like the whole time I was just shooting a fire hose at everybody because I want to show that the program is actually helpful and useful and easy to use, and I don't think I did that. After the presentation, a friend of mine made a couple of suggestions on what I could do to improve my presentation. I am going to implement those now and take another stab at introducing you to this absolutely great writing tool, Scrivener. So that's what we're doing today. I'm going to record this and see how it looks. Anyway, and if it works out, maybe you can see it. Anyway, so we're going to go on with it. So I'm going to share my screen. If all goes well, this will not explode. I have been having a little bit of issues with the computer lately, and hopefully it won't happen today. Anyway, hopefully you can see my big screen. So you've downloaded Scrivener. Johnny says to do it. You do what Johnny says. You've downloaded Scrivener, 30-day trial. I haven't put any money out. You want to see what it does. Oh, it looks like a very complicated program. How do we use this thing? So let's play. All right, so I'm going to go down here. I'm going to open Scrivener. And this is probably what's going to look like the first time you open Scrivener. It'll give you a project template, which is a very nice place to start. And although most people are pretty hardcore, I don't use templates, I'm too cool. Trust these. These are actually pretty good. You can look at them all. They're all different ones. You can look at screenplay, short stories, undergraduate humanities, nonfiction, yada, yada, yada. I generally stay just with the fiction. Fiction novel with parts, or short story. I'm just going to use a novel because this is what I use it for, because when I got into Scrivener, I just wanted to use it. I wanted a program. I wanted to start writing. You don't want to spend all your time on a learning curve, right? Because you're coming from some of the word processor. It seemed very obvious how to get to, well, you knew how to use a word processor. This is more than a word processor. This is something else. But anyway, okay, so the first thing you do is we're going to, which was a worthless piece of advice. You just want to get going with it. So kind of figure out what you want to do, make it as simple as possible. You can do blank. I recommend novel because it has all the pieces, and I'll show you why. We're going to choose novel there. We're going to use create. All right, then it asks us, what do we want to do with this? Let's give it a name. Let's go Johnny's, my spelling, I'm going to suffer with this. Johnny novel, all right? And we're going to put it there. We're going to put it in this. I have a file here. You can put it anywhere. You've regular dialog box, but we're going to put it right there. Now, and it's going to come back. All right, now notice I put it in this file here. And notice it has the scriv suffix. Now I'm on a Macintosh. Windows will probably be different, maybe not. But everything here is going to be on the Mac. Now scriv means it's a Scrivener document, but it's more than that. Start thinking of these as projects, and you'll be a long way to understanding what the power of Scrivener is. Okay, so here we go. Here's what it gives us. Now, the first thing you notice is it opens up with the novel format page. Basically, this tells you what you just made. It tells you how to compile. This is actually some pretty useful information. I recommend you scan it one time, look at it, or maybe ignore it. We're going to probably ignore it right here. And it's the first thing on the side here. I'm going to actually change my cursor so we can get a better look at it. But you can see that it's very friendly, and it immediately does this. Immediately gives you some information on how you can use this particular template, why it's this way. Now I'm going to make my mouse a little bigger so we can, hopefully this will help. Okay, so now I got a bigger cursor. So the basic parts of Scrivener are, of course, the menu bars. And I recommend all of you spend some time eventually and look at the menu bars, but you don't really need to worry about them because let's face it, some of these are pretty complicated. These are not short menu bars. This is a robust, mature program, and there's a lot happening here. For example, just in the settings, you'll see that there's actually multiple, even in the general, there are all these subcategories. There's a lot to look at, and you can be overwhelmed by this. So we're going to ignore that entirely right now. So, okay, let's talk about the basic elements of the screen. At the top, we have a toolbar right along the top here. And the toolbar starts over here on the left hand with the binder. Now the binder is this column right there. And this is where your mind needs to get around the idea of a project. This is more than a word processor. This is a writing binder, a project binder. It's a place for you to collect all your information and to store it for long terms. This is a writing program built for writers. It is not a word processor. It is a creative tool. It does process words if that's all you want to do. But okay, let's take a look at the binder menu first of all. Hide binder, it's gone. If you want to clean up your space or you want to bring it, fine. Collections, this is advanced. We're not touching that. Hide format bar. Now, format is this bit right here. This is what you see in every single word processor. And if you don't, maybe you don't want to see that, because one of the things Scrivener very much wants to do is it wants to remove as many distractions as possible to allow you to write. I'm going to move this out a little bigger here. Not too much bigger. And so you can do that if you want to see a ruler. I don't know why you want to see a ruler, but you might want to see a ruler. Show page view. This is interesting if you want to, as you write, if you want to see where you land on the page. Some people like this. It's not really what I look for, because this gives you the false sense of WYSIWYG. You are not working in WYSIWYG. In other words, what you see is what you get to a degree. If I were to print this off right here, if I were to print this off, or print, there it is. Print current document, it would look like this. But for the most part, you don't think that way. You think of it as collecting the words. So anyway, so the last thing is layouts. Now, this is the default layout where you can see you have this, this, and this, but you can do a 3-pane layout, which looks a little different. You can do editor only, makes things clean. You can do dual navigation stuff. It talks all these things. All this stuff is advanced. You probably don't need to worry about it. And I don't think you should worry about it. It's something to look for later. So anyway, this is what the binder column is. Now we'll look a little bit more at the binder in a minute. In the meantime, this is the main work area. This is where you will actually do your writing. Hello, I am writing. All right, this is the page. Now, if we were to do page view, might show you actually a little bit better how it looks on the page, right? Because I have made this pretty wide. Actually, I can actually zoom it in a bit to show you a bit more. So hello, I'm writing. Okay, this is what it is. This is what all this is. And this is where we will get the changes like to this, or let's see what we got here. We can change the fonts. This is the effect here. This is your blank page. Now over here, then moving over here, we have a search, right? I forgot to over here. Over here we have a search. We can search for everything. For example, hello. This is every document that has the word hello in it. It's a very powerful search engine, just always available right now. But keep in mind that if you have something in there like hello and you forget about it, suddenly you lose it and you don't even, and it'll only show you this hello. So you got to remember to clear this when you're not done. All right, that being said, we also have, this is for new documents. And notice when you pass your mouse over it, it'll show you new documents. This is for trash. This is to add images, footnotes, and links. This is a quick reference. We'll play with that in a minute. This is an interesting, this is actually a process bar. It shows how many words the project is entirely and how many words we've written this session. Very powerful, more on that later. This is called the Scrivenings panel. This is where you show all your documents. This is where you show your documents as a corkboard. This is where you show your documents as an outline. This is when you want to compile it, you want to take your non-WYSIWYG and turn it into a WYSIWYG and to get it out for processing or something, collects all the pieces in a beautiful format. Bookmarks, you can see it just says bookmarks, show project bookmarks. This is composition mode. We'll have fun with that in a minute. And this is the inspector. The inspector is this column over there. So it's the farthest right and the farthest left, for the farthest right and left columns. The inspector is a close-up of the document. Okay, that, right, I'll show you how all this works. Right, let's come back over here to the binder. So you'll notice the binder has, first of all, the manuscript. This is the meat of it. Special rules apply to the manuscript. This is where it figures out how many words you've done. This is figuring out where the project is. This is where it will draw from to pull your document in. But that isn't all it's there. We have characters and places and front matter and notes and research and templates and trash. All these things are there. Whoa, what's up with that? Okay, so we want now to say, now we have this and say, okay, well, I have written, I've already done some writing. So I want to import it. So let's talk about doing that first of all. So maybe you've done some writing. You were foolish enough to pay into Microsoft Word. You have Google Docs. And anyway, so you have say, for example, we'll look at this particular thing over here. What do we have? Example of black. I don't want to do that one yet. No, not that one yet. There it is. We have some chapters here. We can kind of look at them. We've done some writing on this one, right? We have some chapters there, and here's another one. These are Poe. Here's something I wrote, right? I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to bring that out. How do I do that? There are a couple ways to do it. So we want to bring this into the manuscript. So the manuscript means it's part of the writing. So one way is we can just drag the file in and drop it. And this is now an editable document, right? Cask. Now notice, however, this is important to notice. This is a doc. This is Word. Even though this is a Macintosh program, it doesn't play well with Pages. If I try to bring the same thing in with Pages, oops, we have bad things happen because my fat fingers. If we were to do the same thing with Pages, notice what happens. Media files cannot be dragged into the draft file. It can't read Pages. So we say, okay. However, if we really want this, we can drag it into some of these other files, for example, into Notes or Research. And there it is under Research. Now, it will be able to read this, but you can't edit it. All right, so anyway, so at this point, we have added this into it. We say, well, you know what? There really should have been a chapter break there or something. We can fill those in with a split. Split right there. Oh, sorry, it was split. What was it? Split at selection. So it's document, split at selection. Bam! There's the first one, and it just split. We can pull it together. So, oh, that was a mistake. Collect these two, go back and merge them. They're now back to one document. Kind of useful, right? Now, that's one way to bring it in. Now, say there's another way to bring it in. So your work is now here. Now, just by the way, you look at all these menus, one of the things is the help menu. Very good help menu here, including, I will point out, Scrivener, manual, the complete manual, support, release dates, up-to-date, placeholders, video tutorials, interactive tutorials. It wants you to like this program. All right, but let's show up another way to do it. Let's do an import. At this point, we're going to import some files that we wrote, and we're going to say, all right, well, in this case, we have, let's see, we've done cast, let's do mask. This is our mask chapters, right? And now notice this. Oh, okay. I've noticed I have chapters on this. Now I can just import it straight. And I can go through and I can try to find the chapters. But notice already I've got two of these, right? Now I could also import it this way. I can import and split. The difference is it says now split into sections upon finding the separators. In this case, the separators are hashtags. So I put a hashtag there. And now when I import it, notice what it's done. It has, wherever there was a hashtag, it has given it its own split. Kind of cool. These are now all documents. And if you look at current status, we now have a 7,178 word manuscript just by doing that. Okay, now before we move on too far, I want to point out the difference between a chapter and a scene here. Scrivener wants you to think in chapters and scenes, which is a good idea for a fiction writer, but it's not always that useful. Chapter and scene, you really can't write anything to the chapter. It's all a part of the scene. If you look on chapter, you'll see this little line here. I don't like this very much, and so I always just pull my scenes out and add them in, and then delete that. And so I just see a manuscript with chapters. I do this with chapters. Your mileage will vary. I'm just going to show you what I do here. This is how my ones work. Okay, so, oh, I did this, but you know what? This particular scene is in the wrong place. What do I do? Or say, for example, let's see, where is it? Something I have here. I have another one. Okay, I think I have another one here. Oh, okay. Say, for example, get to that one. Say, for example, this was in the wrong place. I can just move it up here. And I can move it, and you can move it. Say this is actually a subset of this one. I can put it on top of it, and now they are connected. We can see, we can see one and the other, and you can see that they actually nest on this. Very useful. You can pull it out as you want to, and that's really powerful, right? And as we can change these and write them, and you can see I've got different fonts. You can do whatever you want to. Very useful. So pretty neat. And say, well, you know what? One of the things I do use a lot is my scene outline. And so I happen to have a scene outline over here somewhere. Where is it? Holland plot, scrapbook. This blind as a bat. Johnny's senile. I've got it highlighted. I can drag this. Man, I got to stop doing that. I've got to stop doing that. I'm fighting with the new mouse, people. I apologize. So anyway, scene outline, I can just drag it right here. Now this is not part of the manuscript, but I have it right here. I can move it into notes. I can move it into research. And since it's a Word document, I can actually move it into the manuscript itself, right? But for me, I just do this. All right, that's kind of neat. That's kind of neat. Okay, so at this point, I've got some words working on. I've got an actual document. I want to see them all, right? I can select them all, and I can write as if it's all one document. It's all connected there. And so I can also select it all and get it into a more reasonable font. That kind of thing is done. Very useful. Okay, so far so good. Now let's say to ourselves, all right, that's nice if I bring in, what if I want to make a new document? Well, you just go up and you push new. There it is. We call this chapter 2. And in this we say, in this chapter, things will happen to amaze the reader, right? And then and I don't know, then maybe you probably write a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more, you can get all of it, and there it is. And then again, if you don't like page out, if you don't like the page view, hide page view, and it just looks like this. All right, so far so good. Now notice down here in the foot area, we have 2334 words. This is how many words there are in this document alone. Our entire manuscript is 9,000, but this document is 2,300. Very useful. And today, so far today, we have written 2,338 words in this document, which is nice. And notice again, you can change the zoom level. I have bad eyes. I tend to zoom. Okay, so very good. Now, I'm writing this and think, okay, this is nice, but what about all the other stuff I need to do? You said it's a binder, so what does that mean? Okay, well, you're doing research. You're doing some pre-writing. Maybe you've got a couple of chapters. You're getting kind of stuck. You want to think about this. Well, let's first take a look at our characters. Oh, we don't have any characters. Now, by the way, you can just hit Command N, or you can just hit New. Now, notice in characters, under the Characters tab, any new document gives you this template. Start with. We have role. Okay, so we have character name. We're going to call him Alex. Age, he's 35. Location, Florence. Role in the story, we're going to call him a protagonist. We're going to goals and all these things we can do. By the way, if you don't like these templates, there are a lot of them out there. You can replace them. People have made other templates you can use, not just for characters and places which are built in, but for everything. I've even got my own character template on my website if you want to look at this. But anyway, so we're doing this, we're making a character, and we'll look over here and say, hey, what's this? Character sketch. Huh. Well, let's take a look at this. Oops, that's the wrong one. You can also say, what does this character look like? And you can drag yourself a picture right there. That's what this guy looks like. So now whenever I want to think of the character, I've got a picture of him. And here are some notes. This is all they've done in the inspector. Notice this is done in the synopsis in the notes section. So we're actually making a character, and we can put a picture there, right? And we get all these things, and then we kind of change the name of this to Alexander Poe. And then I say, okay, that's very good, but we need a villain. So we're going to make another one. Command N. We're going to make this guy Francis. Role and story, victim. All right. Oops, I'm going to move that and go victim, right? And this is just for my reference. You can fill this in as much as you want to. This is made for pre-writing to put the thoughts on paper. What does he look like? Well, let's see. That one looks good. Maybe this one. Yes, I'm doing this. That looks good. So over here, that's what he looks like, right? Kind of fun. Now, all right, this is Francis. I'm going to change the name to Francis. All right, places. Now let's see. A couple of places I want here. Let's see, the tomb. Yes, it's a casket of Amontillado. We talked about there's going to be the name of setting, right? Catacombs, right? Role and story, main setting, all, again, this is just to get the juices flowing. The idea, if you know about pre-writing, you know that you do this in order to have it in your mind. So all of this is there. You can fill this out as much as you want, right? This would be the catacombs. You could do another one for Florence, for example, if you need to have this, and maybe you've got pictures of Florence, whatever. But then as you're going, you're thinking, you know what, I really need a map of this. So here's a map. You can just drag the map into the map right here, into the catacombs. Oh no, I can't see anything. I say, well, you can unzoom it, right? There's the map of the catacombs I put together, right? I can also put it up here if I want to. I can also put it right there. And so if I ever want to get a detailed map, it's already connected there. What about Florence? Well, here's a map of Florence that I found on the internet, right? I'm going to put it underneath Florence, and I can, again, zoom in and see it anytime I want to. There's Florence if I need to have it. And this is useful. This is just world building. Very straightforward. All these characters are now part of my manuscript, and they're in my binder. They're safe forever and ever. But as I'm thinking about it, I said, I really don't know what the book's about. So under notes, I make a new document, and I go like, brainstorm, right? And here it's just free writing as I want to. Two old friends get drunk, and one of them kills the other in a crypt because. All right. And then, act one, act two, just whatever I want in there, just notes, just research on this, right? And you can have 1,000. This is brainstorm. This could be like old vendetta, right? You can write about this, original problem was, and then write down what that is, that's what it's all about, right? Maybe you have a little bit more information and you want to bring in a document that you wrote somewhere else, and you say, here's something. This is something I scribbled out on my iPad on the way to work in the car, people honking at me, and so you can save it here, right? And then research, right? You got the research. And within research, maybe you want to know what things look like, right? And so maybe you've collected things, and there's wine involved, and so you want a picture of wine, and you want to add it. Here's a Wikipedia article on wine. Notice I just dragged the location to Scrivener and dropped it anywhere, and it's here. Not only can I access it with the internet, but I can actually go visit the bloody web page if I want to. Click on this, it'll take me there. I think I might have turned that off. No, I didn't. So here it is. It's actually opening the page for me. Kind of neat. I'm not going to give it too much time. There it is. But it's already uploaded here. Pretty neat, right? Here's a great little bit of research that I found, and talks about what all the different bottles look like, right? So I have an easy access to it. I can actually have it in my binder. When I want to go see what kind of bottle they're drinking out of, there it is. I'm moving on. I'm collecting all of this information to create my book. So all this is here. This is just research, sample output. We're not going to play with that. It's kind of dumb. The front matter we'll talk about in a second. Okay, so places and characters and everything. And we just keep writing. And that's very useful. So we can, at any given time, we can add anything. We can pull it around. It's just collecting your pieces. And it can be a lot of stuff. It can be all kinds of stuff in here. It can be, let's see, what else do I have? Oh, here's something that I use here. For example, maybe I've got maybe I just have kind of a random thing here. I put it in my notes, and it's just I'm importing a scalpel piece. Oh, but perhaps you're wondering, hopefully this will work. Maybe you're asking yourself, Johnny, why haven't you saved anything? What's going on? Are you stupid? You know why I haven't saved anything? Because the computer's doing it for me. Scrivener saves the work, saves the entire project if I stop clicking or moving for 2 seconds. 2 seconds, we save. 2 seconds, we save. Whoa, what happens if your save goes wrong? Guess what? It makes backups of your entire project. You can choose how often you do it. Sometimes if you hit save manually instead of saving it, it'll make a backup. So you have several different layers of protection. That's one of the great things. But here's something I put together as well. All this is here. Okay, so that's nice. We've got a nice central place to collect all of my research, all of my writing. Now, but there's more. Let's talk about this section over here. Now, we showed you on in the characters that we can use the synopsis tab. That's a clue for photographs. We can also say, based. This is a note based on EAP. That's Edgar Allan Poe. EAP is his friends call them EAP. Anyway, that's what I have. So, but the same thing is true on all of these things. So now task chapter 1. Okay, this is it. Look, now these names aren't very helpful. I would recommend you go back. It often finds, if you imported it, it'll take the title of the import. If you just made it, it'll take the first line, the first sentence to try to make that. But you want to do something like this anyway. Chapter 1, that kind of thing. You go back and change it. Chapter 2. All right. That's easy. And then you keep track of it. That's how I do it. Actually, chapter 1, I would do more. I would do 1 book. Now, this isn't, now you can actually set it up where Scrivener will look at whatever you titled it and call the chapter that. I don't do that. This is strictly internal. I get Scrivener just call it chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. That's done in the compiling in a minute. But anyway, so here we are. Chapter 1, the hook, synopsis. Now, this is a chapter synopsis. It has certain uses many people can ignore that I often do, but not always. A chapter synopsis is where you write down what happens in this chapter. Old friends meet, we learn, we get a hint. How's that? We get a hint of past wrongs. All right. Notes. Stolen from a forgotten short story. Add color, mention place, that kind of thing. But for me, what I often do is I'll often put my scene outline in the notes. Now, the notes appears nowhere except in this particular pane. And this is a long pane. There's no end to it, right? So I might do this. Since I use a scene outline, I might do this. Goal, start story, setting, Florence, players, objective, kill the dude, external conflict, witnesses, internal conflict, witnesses, uncontrolled rage, very useful. Okay, and I have this, old friends meet, we get a hint of past wrongs, they agree to go to a private script to taste special, my spelling from, taste special wine. Okay, very nice. So what do I do with that? Well, for one thing, if you're ever trying to figure out when you're ever trying to put out a whole synopsis of your book, this is a good place to start because you can just look at each of the synopses of your chapters and go from there. But see, not only is this a synopsis, but it is a note card. This little box is called a note card because if you hit manuscript and then you go up to the second one, this is your corkboard. This is all of your documents done as a corkboard in order. Now, if you have something written on the synopsis, on the note card, it'll appear here. See, old friends, old friends. In chapter 2, if you notice, I don't have anything here, so it just goes, it does that. I have to collect all of it. So the Red Death had long, all right, and then it'll do these things. You can go back and you can actually on chapter say this isn't very good, and you can actually, when you click on it, it'll show you the board. You can actually change it over here. A better synopsis is possible, right? Okay, you can do this for all of them, and you can do this for each scene and everything. And this is very useful to get a visual on this, on your entire book, on how the different pieces put together. This is another way to look at it. It's still here. It's all still here in your Scrivenings, but it's also in your corkboard. But wait, there's more. What is this thing? This is an outline. This is taking the same information, your synopsis, your notes, but also just kind of playing them out in a different way, again in order by names. And here we have labels and statuses and sections. And, the sections is, we'll talk about that. Sections mean you have chapter and then a section. If this was going to be its own chapter, I would actually change this to a chapter. Targets, what's that? Oh, that's the writer coming through. But in the meantime, let's just look at this. We have the chapter one, kind of get an idea for this. Doesn't really help, but there's no label here. No label. Well, let's talk about labels. Labels are found down here. This has no label. This is the footer stuff down here. This is no label. There's also no status on this particular document. There are other places to do it. Project Navigator. This is just easiest. By the way, everything that's in Scrivener has at least two ways to do it. Usually a button on the screen, a menu item, and often a a right click. But in this case, we want one. We can use the labels. Let's take a look at the labels. Here are the basic labels. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. That doesn't help. Let's edit them. Red. Let's go. This takes place in the street. Orange is going to be a POV Francis chapter. They're very rare. Yellow is going to be in the crypt, right? Green is going to be commercial break. You can do anything you want with these, right? Most people use these either for settings or for POV shifts. That's what they're made for. And you can add more as you want to. You can change them as much as you want. Very useful stuff, very useful stuff. And so the other advantages of having labels is this. So we will now, the hook, we'll go down and we give it a label. We'll give it a street. Okay, now it's got this little pink thing. Well, that's kind of dumb. That's kind of wasted. Way down in the corner, can't see that. Until you start looking at it in the other areas. There it is again. Here it is there. But if that's not broad enough for you, you can actually use label color in the binder. There it is now. You can also use label color as a background. Now, doesn't that change it? There's right there. You can actually see this chapter 2. We will label it in the crypt. And now you can get a very good visualization of your changing labels from your binder, but not just your binder. Going back to the manuscript and the corkboard, we can see them change there, but it's off. But wait, there's more. We can use labels, set background. I can do it in, let's see, what was it? Index cards. There it is. The whole index cards now goes that color. And in your labels and in your outline view, outline's the most powerful and it's the one I use the least. So forgive me if I don't do a lot with this. In outlining rows, again, a very visual thing. You say, I don't like chapter 2 here. You can move it down to there. And look, it's done it here as well. You can actually, you have full control. This is manuscript. You don't like this here. You want it at the end. You can move it at the end. Very, 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 very useful. Status. Now the statuses are very useful. Again, you can make these anything. There's no color coded. You can use these as a secondary label if you want to, or you can do this for your internal thinking. To do, in progress, first draft, revised draft, final draft, done. How's that for keeping track of shit? Total words and everything. Also, there are many other choices you can get here. Navigate, is it project, is it view? Outliner options. These are all the things you can put here. It gets crowded, so we recommend it. For example, created date, character count, word count, include and compile, target base, all the targets we'll get to in a second. So all of this is very useful. You can see all of this happening, right? For example, here is an actual book of mine called The Blind Squirrel. Hopefully it'll come out very soon. And you can see that I use this extensively. I have so many different POVs. And I kept track of them with here. I have full outline of chapter outlines, synopses, I mean, and I have and I had made and I have all of the people marked out. Look at all these different POVs. This is probably why it hasn't been published, but it's a wonderful, complex, multi-view book. Quite the ensemble piece. But you can see I kept track of them that way. And it actually look at that. You can see the organization here. I'm a fucking genius. I'm a genius. All right. Anyway, we'll put that one away for now. Come back to our other works. Okay, so all this is nice and dandy. You can see how you can start really taking advantage of this. You can play around with it. And say, for example, you accidentally hit delete. You actually hit command delete because it's hard to delete. Oh, I've lost it. What have I done? Well, you have all the backups, but wait, there's more. Trash. trash is actually considered just another folder. It doesn't actually throw anything away. You have to find it to do the trash. It's really hard to get rid of it. So you can always get it up. You can always get it out and then bring it back as you want to. Okay. Now, how's that for fun? Now, so far, I'm going to move this back out to the right section. We've talked a little bit about the inspector elements, right? We've talked about this one, which is, I believe, notes and synopses, right? I'm going to show me. Bookmarks, this is not quite engaged in bookmarks yet. Metadata, if you want to do this, that's fun. I don't use metadata a lot, but what I do use, so the main thing I use here is a synopsis and the notes. But let's talk about this little camera icon here. Oh, by the way, your synopsis can also have a picture. Can also have a picture. Have a picture here. You know, it can also have a picture if you want to. You have a synopsis, and you can also have a picture. Anyway, but let's talk about editing. So we started writing this, and we love this. And I'm saying, I wonder if I might be able to change this paragraph up. How would I do that? But I don't want to forget what I recently did. I don't want to forget my original thing. Enter the snapshot. These are snapshots. Whatever you're on right now, this is chapter 1, you hit plus, there it is. This is a copy of this entire document, of chapter 1, all of it right there. Now, if I do something, if I make changes to it, I can always go back. I can say, for example, compare this to that, in which case, I believe it will show me the changes I've made. See, this is the changes I've made. I can compare the current draft to any previous backdrafts. I can make another snapshot. Now, when I compare the currents, notice that they're given times at the same time, but you can see that they're given, you can see changes. You can compare 2 previous snapshots and see what changes there were. Okay, now, not really happening. See how I do this, yeah. Yeah, and you can compare previous snapshots. You can also say, I want to roll it back to this one. Take a snapshot before rolling back. It says, hey, you made these changes. Let's just save what you've done now just in case. Sure. There's another snapshot and you rolled back. Wow, you're safe. It keeps an eye on these things. Magical, magical, magical. And you're thinking, well, Johnny, won't this bloat the size of my Scrivener project? Yes, but who cares? We're talking kilobytes in an age of terabytes. If you end up with 100 megabytes Scrivener file, you win. You win, and it won't matter at all. Anyway, I love that about it. Okay, so that is all about snapshots, and you can do it for all of them, and they're very safe, and they kind of keep track of everything. Very lovely. Okay, so we talked about cork boards and everything. Now, let me show you a couple of things that I think are specifically wonderful, remembering that this program was built for writers, by writers. It's not a word processor, it's a writing tool. So let's take a look at the project here. Some very, very subtle hidden things here. One of them is your statistics. Now notice it's a really mess keyboard shortcut, so just go here. These are the statistics, and this is constant. This keeps track of your document, only what's in the manuscript, only what's in the compile. Oh, I should show you something about the compile. If you noticed here, one of the options was include. I did a right click there. Let's see, was include and compile. So we now have, see, all these are included in compile. If I don't want to put that one in the final document or something, you can take it out. But all these are going to be compiled. So that is the measure. There are other places you can get to it. For example, in the compile button, it'll give you a second chance here. This is a little more complicated. I'm going to probably end on this. But take a look quickly at the project statistics. So it takes a look at everything that's in compile. And it says you've got 9,291 words, this many characters without spaces, this many paragraphs, sentence lengths, and when you print it on paper, it'll take 42 pages. And if this were a paperback, it'd be 26. You can change that. But what is this? Word frequency. I use the word let 10 times. And the word to, 180 words. That's pretty frequent. I mean, this is just some deep dive and stuff here, right? Similarly, select a document, just the documents I've looked at. You can look at the same information. There's some options you can play with, but mostly you can just always see where you are here. Now this is 92, 92, 91, right? That happens to be right there. This is another way to look at it. And again, the second number is what we've written today, this session. Now, that has to do with your goals, your targets. Small little dialogue box here. Absolutely the writer's friend. The manuscript target is blank of blank, 0. We want to get 12,000 words out of this. And we want to do 5,000 words a session. All right. Okay, what changed? Big deal, right? Well, for one thing, when we come up here, we now see what the version is, right? Oops. By the way, when you just click on this, this is another search bar, right? It'll show me everywhere the word wine appears, including titles and everything, full project search. But forget that. We're just going to go over here. Just hover the mouse over, right? It shows us what we've written versus what we want to have written. And then we have 2117 out of 5,000 words, which is interesting. And it's great if you sit down the math and realize how far you are in it. But then wait, notice the lines. This top line is how close you are to your ultimate goal. This bottom line measures visually how far you are for your session goal. Am I right? Look at that. It is telling you to keep writing. I love this. And you can make changes to this, and it's just marvelous. And let's say, for example, you're writing history. This is something else it'll do. From the moment you start your project to this moment today, the moment you open this dialog box, it will tell you how much writing you did on any particular day. Now, it didn't include the imports. That's why we only get 2117, because I cut and pasted. That counts. You can do averages per day, but it'll show each and every day and each month what your writing progress was. Now, this smells of NaNoWriMo, and it should. Scrivener and NaNoWriMo have had a great partnership for as long as I've been writing. And if you do NaNoWriMo and you win NaNoWriMo, they'll give you a 40% discount code to get this program, because you are a writer and it wants you to be a writer. And this kind of thing of keeping track of your progress and holding yourself accountable, this is what Scrivener does in the background. And you can ignore this and never know it exists, ever. Don't even need to know it. All right, so show history and characters and words. It's all here. You can export this as a CSV if you want to put it in a spreadsheet. I mean, for all you geeks out there, isn't that an amazing little toy to have with you? Okay, let's go back to scrivenings for a second, because we have some time. Say, for example, I really need to have this map a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click on this and we're going to say add to project bookmarks. Say you don't have a right click button. You see down here, this little do-hit right down here, this is your right click button. Remove from bookmarks, same thing. Add to project bookmarks. You can do that to anything. Say we want Poe to be here. We want Poe to be a bookmark as well. Okay, so what do you do with bookmarks? Well, bookmarks, at any given time, you can go up to here and say bookmarks, and here are your bookmarks. Automatically, your characters, your places, and your notes are bookmarked. But also, here's this. If you ever want, this is fast transfer, fast motion, what is it in video games? Fast travel. That's what this is. But you can pull this off and make it a floating dialog box. Kind of fun, right? Okay, so that's all you do for bookmarks. You can take them away. Again, right click is often a way to get rid of these things. You can rename them. Kind of a useful way to do it. But wait, there's more. Say, for example, you don't want to do bookmarks. You just want to see the map, the trip map. This is where this little thing comes in. This is a quick reference, and at any given time, you can click on this, and it'll give you a window of whatever you're on. It'll stay floating. It flows behind it, but it's there. See? And I'm working on this, and I always have this reference. If you have a big enough screen, of course, you can do them both. Okay, and you can just always kind of refer to this back and forth. But wait, there's more. Say, for example, you want the Holland plot as well. Well, look, here's another one. Document after document after document. Now, wait, there's even more. Say you want to work on chapter 1, but you really need to reference chapter 2 as well. So what you do is you use this button here. This subtle little square with a line through it is a split screen. You click on that and it does one, and then you click on the other side and you can put what other document you want there. All right. If you hold down the Option key, it'll do it horizontally. And you can actually, and one's active and one's not active. And you can be writing in this one and be able to read that one while this is floating and that is floating. And you have all of these pages, just like your messy desk at home. Isn't that cool? But wait, there's more. Now, so if you're like me and you get complicated and you got to find that groove, you got to find that flow. How do you, the best way to get into the flow? And here is one of the strangest, one of the greatest things about Scrivener, and that is the composition mode. This is up there. Enter full screen composition mode. When you're on a document, we're going to be on this one. You go to composition mode and look what happens to your screen. Now these floating ones will remain, so you can keep them if you want to, move them off to the side. But look, the background is gone. The desktop is gone. It's right here. I can just write. If I don't want these, there is a purity. I can just write this. That's awfully narrow. What do I do? Well, see if I can stretch this out. Down here at the bottom of the screen, we have these choices. We can make the paper wider. We can move it to the left or right, particularly if you have the windows. And we can do inspector if we want it out here. And we can make that go away. It's a little tricky when I'm doing Zoom, but you get an idea for it, right? Go to page. And also there's something called a typewriter. Now here's the typewriter. Say we're down here. It can get hard to see down here. And then we go to typewriter mode. It will keep the text in the middle of the page, so I don't have to worry about it. Bring on the flow. Huh? Is that just cool or what? Escape key, you're out. That's it. Now, a couple things. We're wrapping up, so I'm pleased this is going so much better. Let's take a couple small things. Not small. Once you get your whole work together and you've got all your pieces, you want to compile them. Now, this is what that's the compile button up there. There, of course, there's a menu to do it. There's probably a keystroke to do it. But anyway, the compile looks like this. Now, this is your default areas. You cannot edit these default templates of compiling, but you can make a copy of them and make changes to that, because this is hardwired. You don't want to change these. And you can really spend a lot of time fighting with this. Don't fight with it. Choose what you want. Usually it'll just be the manuscript. Most times, for me, I will write a book in Scrivener. I'll love my book. Then I will compile it and I will export it to a Word document. It takes me 1 or 2 tries as I realize I have some errors, and if there are obvious errors, I'll show you where to find them. Then eventually I'll have a Word document, and that's what the publishers like. They really don't want Scrivener. Even though Scrivener will do everything Word will do, they don't want to play with it. But here's what you have to remember. These are your keys on this particular, and this is probably the most daunting thing, because everything else is pretty straightforward. The compiling thing can be a little tricky. First, where do you want to compile to? Do you want to print it? Go straight to your printer, make it PDF, RTF. Mostly you want to do a doc. You can do all these different layouts, including Markdown and Kindle and EPUB. I do not use these. Like I say, for me, this is where I go. I'm going to just do PDF because it'll be faster today. Now, this is what you want to have do it. Now, okay, manuscript, okay, add front matter. Ooh, let's go look at front matter real quick. Front matter is right here. One of the things I don't like about Scrivener is it puts front matter at the bottom down here. I tend to move it up here just for neatness. But anyway, manuscript format. So there it is. I want to look at the title page. I'm going to kill this. And I'm going to go to manuscript format and look at the title page. This is the title page, what it just made. It's not so bright, and it doesn't know that Sandy and Utah are actually need to be on the same line because they're from Britain. You know, they do this. So I'll just kind of put a comma there and make a space and do that. I'll make some fixes here. It'll fill in the project title. It'll fill in my name. It'll fill in the word count. There it is, the word count. Now, that's ready to go. My agent's name, I don't have one at the moment. Please see me if you can help. So we're back to here. We're back to compile. So add front matter, yes or no. You can also have back matter. You don't necessarily have it, in which case you choose where you want, which one you want, right? Title page, you can also add anything you want to, like a dedication or an index or something, right? We just have that right now. Now, okay, next thing is, this is what it's going to look like. This is the header. This is kind of, it takes it from what you think you want. But Johnny's novel is not what we're going to call this book. It's going to be called Days of Wine, Days of Wine and Death. And the abbreviated title is Death. Author is Johnny Worthen. Okay, that's all fine. Next, moving on, remove endnotes. I usually skip this entirely, but this one, I should kind of skip entirely, and we're back over here. So this is funnel. What do we want to have? Only included documents, excluded documents, or all? Say, for example, you selected all your documents, but you just want to show people the first three, and you don't want to go uncheck them all or check them all, right? Unselect those, choose excluded documents, and it'll just take those. Even if you have some selected and some not selected, selecting all will bring them all in. Isn't that cool? Okay, so we've done that. And then we will compile. It'll bring up a regular dialog box, a save dialog box. No, actually, I have it on print, don't I? I'm going to move it back. I'm going to compile again. It goes to print. You got to keep an eye on this. We can go back to PDF. Check that we're still all, and we're going to compile. There it is, PDF. We're going to put it on the desktop so it's easy to find. And it'll do that. Tick, tick, tick. And there it is. And now, there it is. It's compiled. It's looking at double spaces and adding these things in. So this is something you want to look at. If you have a lot, when you're writing your documents, and I'm going to show invisibles because I like them. Text editing, show invisibles. So if you see these paragraph after paragraph, nah, you don't want to do that. You really kind of want to have it all. If it sees a paragraph, it sees a blank paragraph like that, it will put that in there. And that's why you do a couple of compiles to figure out what your issue is, right? So this is a problem. I've got to remove all of these double paragraphs. Obviously, my style wasn't great. I should have put the whole thing into, do I have a style here? I can't do them all style from here, but I needed to basically do better. to do better, because all this was brought in. You should kind of fix it all up, attribution, block quote, header, title, verse. I don't know. There are different ways you can do it. There's also bullet points and stuff if you really want to get crazy. But this word processor. So basically, with you got to be careful of if it's messy. This is what I'd use. I'd actually, a new scene would not have this problem, and it would just, I gotta get something about paragraph, don't I? Okay, new scene would not have this. And then notice it automatically will put the indents in the way you want to. It's already built in anyways, but so this is why the compiling can be a little bit frustrating. It could take a couple of stabs before you get it right. It'll automatically slide it into standard manuscript format, people. Very good news there. Okay. And that's a compiling thing. And the last thing I want to talk about is that you can absolutely change the way Scrivener looks at any given time. All of these things are absolutely accessible through your appearance. First of all, you can go to dark if you want to, a dark setting, which is what I like. This is basic, if I'm Macintosh, basically putting it in dark mode, but there's also things called themes. And these are a little squirrely. Sometimes they crash it. That's why I brought it up last. Themes, you can create your own just by going to settings and then changing the appearance of your binder and changing the fonts and the colors and everything. All very nice. Or you could just, and at their end, you can save it as a theme, or you could go on the line and find some free themes, or you can pay for some themes. Here's a popular theme. See if it doesn't crash it. And this is called Purple Haze. So it's a little bit different. And you notice that it's very different here on the composition mode, right? Sometimes that's very good. And you can actually, by the way, the background fade, you can't, see if I can move this over a bit. Down, oops, can't do it. You can actually change the All right. Let's go back here. All right, so one more time. You can change the background fade so you can actually see things if you want to. There's actually a scroll bar. You can't see it on the right hand corner because of how things are. But so you can change the looks of this. You can make it experience. You can put a graphic behind there. You can make it your own. It's all you can do. Make it your own. Um, yeah, and I just touched the top of it. Touch the top of the iceberg. I'm running out of time. I've got an hour. I'm very pleased with this. When you get into it a little deeper, but you can absolutely, at this point, I've given you enough to use 90% of it. You'll be a happy person for the rest of your life. Then later you can look at some of these other things like revision modes, where you can change each time you come back to it, it'll change the colors. And revision modes are nice. You can change your highlights, colors, change your documents. You can read the manual. All very great. And lastly, on the help manual, there is a manual in here. Okay, you can always do the search on this, but there's a full manual in there. It's a little tricky to get around. I don't love it. The tutorials are great, but I'll tell you what is great, the user forums. If you ever have a problem with Scrivener, there are people there who will help you. Believe it or not, there are a lot of fans out there and we want you to be happy with this program. And did I tell you that it's cheap? It is only, it is really a cheap date, The last thing I want to show you is a literature and latte home. And Scrivener, you can buy now. Now this is $60 or 51 if you're a student. This is for Mac OS. You can do it. You have Windows, iOS, and bundles. Oh, by the way, yes, you can use the same. You can transfer the same project back and forth. It helps if you have cloud storage that doesn't come built in, but that's no big deal. Also, if you use the code Johnny Worthen, let's see if I can find this on my page. On shared resources, right here. Get a 20% discount code to say Johnny Worthen I think it's at the end. You have a chance to enter a code. You get 20% off. This is $60. It's a one-time purchase. You don't have to be connected to the internet to use it. It doesn't check your license constantly. It updates as it needs to have happen. Once in a while, there's a major update. It'll ask you to, for example, from version 2 to version 3. I'd used version 2 for maybe 5-10 years before they actually asked me for more money. I have one license of Scrivener. I use it on both my laptop and my desktop computer. And I use this, and I can go, since I save to the cloud, it goes back and forth. I can actually continue using the same thing. And again, it's one time. It's not Microsoft. It's written for users, by users. Okay, I'm coming up to my hour. I hope I did a better job explaining the program this time than I did last night. I recommend you download the program. It's free to use for 30 days. If you like it, use my name. I don't get any money for the discount. I just really believe in the product. This is everything. I guess I should show one last thing, just because I can, and that is short story. Say, for example, you get an edit, but you put it out and you get an edit back. Sometimes this happens, and you have a Word document and it's got this, and this I didn't even go into, but over here, I drop it in, and maybe I'll put it in a new folder for it. A new folder, edits from friends, right? Okay, forget the spelling, but you see what I'm saying. Now, there it is. And notice the comments are here. That's what we didn't talk about. The comments page is that the Word comments work on Scrivener. I don't use this a lot, but it's here. And so I can actually save the edits that other people give me, because this is not just a word processor. This is a binder. I get this information back. I put it into the computer. I also will always have a folder called query stuff, where I will have the blurb. I will have the full book synopsis. I will have the log lines. And this goes in my binder with the rest of it. These things are not part of the book. They're just part of the binder. See, they've got the characters. I can move them up, move them into the manuscript. I want to keep them out of the manuscript because this is sacrosanct. And you can, of course, always close them down if they're in your way, they're pissing you off or whatever, as happens, You don't want to see all that. You just want to see a manuscript. You don't want to see anything. You just want to see that. Here's just a floating document I keep around. It's that good. Anyway, that's it. That's all I have. I'll end this recording, and hopefully I feel a lot more confident that I can make this useful. If you found this useful, please email me and let me know if this helped. Thanks for your time. This is Johnny Worthen signing out. Real soon.